All right, so we're gonna start lightsaber training here in just a little bit. We don't have anybody yet. All right, so we're gonna start a lightsaber class here in just a second. And so if you wanna join in, I would love to have you. Let's see, how do I, Barstool, nice to have you. We're about to do a saber class. If you don't have a lightsaber, stick, wrapping paper tube, just about anything will work for you. All right, we got a couple of people. Okay. All right, I'm gonna get started. We've got a handful of people. All right, guys, now, first skill we're gonna work on is actually control. And so, whether you're using stick, sword, like whatever your analog for the saber is, what I want you to do is you're gonna designate like handle. And so you want to put one hand on the very bottom, and the very bottom goes inside your fist, okay? And so you can think about this a couple of different ways. What I kind of do is I'll start to make the fist, and then I put the bottom of whatever it is kind of on top of my pinky there, and then my fist wraps around it. And that's going to help me keep my hands separated as I'm working. One of the things that's going to tend to happen is your bottom hand is going to kind of creep up. And the closer your hands get together, the less control you have over the blade, because then you're making your levers smaller. Now, if your weapon's got some type of handguard like this one does, you want to give about that much space between the bottom of the guard and the top of your hand. But sort of figure out what works for you. Depending on the guard, you may need to give yourself a little bit more than that or whatever. I usually like to work with stuff that doesn't have a guard, just so that there's not something in the way. It gives me more flexibility. But like whatever you got, whatever you're working with, totally fine. So bottom hand inside the fist, top hand, make sure you have some space between the bottom of the guard. All right, now I'm gonna use Bob. And so what I want to practice first is being able to stop. And what we start with, you want to be able to stop about this far away. Okay, and I want to be able to stop there consistently without like the blade gets to that point and then kind of wobbles before it comes to rest at that point. I want to be able to just stop. Okay, and so one of the things that'll cause wobble is if when you strike, your hands have this, like this kind of thing. And so as I do my strike, I want my hands to just stop. And the blade might have a little bit of play if I'm using something that's got a thinner wall or whatever. But if my hands are stopping, that's gonna help me control, right? And so, now if you don't have anything to aim at, Elizabeth, nice to see you. Kenny, by the way, thank you. It's good to see you. I'm glad you got to join in. We're up to 4 people in class already, 5 people in class, so that's exciting. All right. Now, if you don't have a room full of martial arts equipment, you just need something that if you accidentally hit it, you're not gonna break it. And so whatever that happens to be, you can also like, you know, tie something on the end of a string and hang it, and then stop at a certain distance away. We're gonna do some stuff with I've got a loop we're gonna hang a belt from to do a couple exercises today as well. But so, one hand on the top, one hand on the bottom. lift so that you're symmetrical. And then as the hands come down, you just want it to stop, okay? And so right now I'm stopping about this high above the camera. Shad, that's wonderful. All right, now when you're practicing, the clarity of your strikes for your partner is a really important part of everybody being able to stay safe. Like if I'm striking and I have that kind of wiggle to my stop, okay, or sort of a bend down and back up, like that kind of thing, it makes it a lot harder for me to keep the other person safe because I don't have the control to just pause when I'm in the middle of something. And so the clarity or the truth of your basic strikes is a really important component to being able to practice safely. All right, now. So once I have my object and I have my distance, it's like, all right, I'm gonna stop this far away. I'm gonna do 10 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, see, that one I slipped. 4. That's what I get for looking off while I'm in the middle of striking instead of paying attention to what I'm doing. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then we're going to go through a couple of mechanical things to make sure that as you're going through your strikes and doing all that, you're being safe with your body and we're practicing good habits. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm only like 6 minutes in. We got time for a lot of stuff. All right. So when I lift, I don't want my shoulders to come up when I lift. I want my shoulders to go down. And so if you move your arms a little bit, you feel your shoulders sliding around on your back. What you want to have happen is, as your hands go up, your shoulder blades are going to slide down and in towards your spine. Okay? Because conveniently enough, your shoulder blades are really close to the same size as your hands. And so what you want to have happen as your hands go up is your shoulder blades go in and down towards your spine, okay? If your shoulder blades come up when your arms go up, that looks like this, okay? And when I lift the weapon, I don't want to lift like this where my shoulder blades go up. I want to lift like this where my shoulder blades go down, all right? And that's going to help me use more of my core muscles as I'm doing this. So, hands up, shoulder blades down, so that as I'm lifting, I've got this shape that I'm working from, okay? Does that make sense? Now, these muscles are the muscles that I deliver my strike with. It's not my arms. If I do all my work with my arms, then I'm not gonna be generating the kind of power I need to for a true strike. And the whole point of using a lightsaber or a blade or whatever is that you don't need to use muscle for it to be effective. Like, that's the whole point, right? So I want to lift so that I get this triangle shape, okay? And I'm not going behind my head, because then I lose a ton of power, I lose a ton of control. I'm going above my head, okay? And so as I do my strike, above my head, not behind it. And then I literally am gonna bring my left hand back to my body, okay? It's good seeing everybody in. Thank you everybody that's stopping by. And Kenny, I know you're practicing with me. Everybody else, if you're following along, awesome. If not, I'm gonna post this to YouTube at the end. So we go up, we have this triangle shape, right? And I'm not trying to be straight up and down. You can see what happens to my arms when I do that. Okay, I lose some of my structure. I'm not trying to be flat, because then, again, I lose some of my structure. All right? And then as this comes down, I'm gonna bring my left hand to me so that I end parallel or pretty close to it. And that's gonna help me make sure I'm using the right muscles so that I'm not overtaxing right in here. I'm sorry for the fake out. Okay, and so lift, and then as the hands come down, I want it to just stop right about parallel. And so this is the overhead strike that we're gonna practice. We've already practiced stopping. Now we're gonna practice following through. And so from parallel to the floor, I lift up so that I have that triangle shape. It comes down, and I want to end parallel pretty close to it. All right, so if I'm straight onto the camera, it's gonna look kind of weird because you don't get depth perception. All right, turn here. So my shoulders go down as my hands come up. And that's gonna be the basic overhead strike that we're using, okay? So, we haven't even worked footwork yet, but that's sort of a core of what we wanna be able to do. Now, I'm gonna move you guys, don't get scared. All right, now, among other things at the dojo, one of the things we teach is TRX. So I've got a couple of spots where I can hang stuff from the ceiling because we have TRX straps. Yeah. Anybody that's just joining, I'm going through some basics for like saber combat and sword mechanics and stuff like that. So if you'd like to join the class today, we've got about another 20 minutes. If you're not going to practice today, but you want to practice in the future, like hang out, get kind of the notes. I'm going to post the full class on YouTube after we're done. The next thing we're going to work on is having something kind of visually cue me to keep my strikes straight. And so one of the things that people will have a tendency to do is when they strike, their hands are on a true path, and so it kind of moves around on them and wiggles as they're striking. And so the next thing I want to work with is being able to keep like a good true line. So we're going to combine what I just did a moment ago, where I'm bringing my bottom hand kind of to me so that the weapon ends up parallel, and I'm going to use this. We better turn up this fan, otherwise it's going to keep. So I'm going to use this as kind of a guide to having a straight line. So this is going to hang, and I can either, if I've got a situation like this, I can aim for the space, okay? Or I can line up to where I've got just the one tail that I use sort of as my guide. All right, now I'm going to center you guys. So I want to be at about this distance. I lift up, and then as the strike comes down, that time I was a little bit on the outside. I don't know how well it shows up on the camera because of the depth. So I come up, and then I want to cut straight through the middle. And so I'm letting my eyes use this to give me a reference point. Do I keep the sword hand straight? Kinda. And so I'm going to show you just lefty. Okay. And so part of the reason why I'm sticking the fingers out is so that you can kind of see what my wrist does as I move. That's lefty's job. Okay. That's righty's job. Okay. And that's where we're kind of starting from. There's a couple of little things that we're going to get into. Probably not this lesson, probably the next one that we do with our grip, but we kind of got to start here. I'm going to do about 10 of those, all right? And so we did 10 where I have a target that I'm practicing stopping this far away. Then I have a 10 where I'm just going to practice bringing my left hand to me okay, so that I'm lined up. And now I'm gonna pay attention to some external feedback on if I'm getting a straight line. You can use a tree, right? And just sort of visually track it, okay? We used to have a retired telephone pole in the back parking lot that worked really well. That has been finally chopped down, so now I can't use that anymore for durability demonstrations. But it's anything that's straight up and down. If I'm indoors, I can even use like any kind of straight line, like vertical line, just to use as a visual guide. So I can be pointed towards the corner of the room here and use the line that is the corner to be my visual reference for how much my strike is kind of wiggling, right? Kenny, I know you were here when people like freaked out about the phone pole, like, oh, that'll be it. It's not connected to anything, it's just a post in the ground. There's no lights, there's nothing, it's just, it's functionally a dead tree. It's okay, nobody's gonna get mad at me. But so now, let's see, how much do I have? Yeah, we got 15 minutes. All right, so I'm gonna take us back through what we've done so far, and then I'm gonna add something. Gimbal, it's really good to see you, buddy. So, we got 10 of these where we stop. Okay? And I'm gonna have 10 of these where I bring my left hand to me and stop parallel. Okay? And then finally, I've got 10 where I'm going to track my straight line. All right? I'm all over the place today. I'm like coming from this side sometimes, I'm coming from that side sometimes. There we go. So I want to get 10 in a row where I'm relatively like straight on, okay? So, once I've got that, we have enough time. I'm going to talk about what you do with your hands. I'm going to talk about the grip. So, I've got my fingers out so that you can see what my hands do as the strike comes down. But basically what it comes down to is I'm going to take the top hand and it turns so that instead of, let's come over here. When I make contact, instead of this part of my thumb being what I'm trying to push the weapon through with, my hand rotates just a little bit so I get more of the web of the hand supporting the cut, okay? And so if you look at my fingers, as it comes down, instead of fingers pointing together, I rotate just a little bit so that they're pointing off the angle. It's really hard to show. Okay. No, you can't see from that angle either. God. I just missed a whole bunch of comments. Hold on. Yeah, so Kenny, you'll get used to it. It's like, it just takes reps because the biggest thing is going to be lefty and righty have to cooperate. And until you practiced a bunch, they don't want to. And so the left hand coming to your body and the right hand steering is going to take some getting used to. And when you get there, it'll be fine. Dad Nerd Dude, great to see you. Ryan, thank you. All right. Oh, man, there are so many people coming in. Hey, Lupin. All right. Lupine. Oh, boy. Gimbal, I hope so, man. That would be awesome. All right, so as the hands come down, I rotate them just a little bit. They just, okay. There we go. You can see it at that angle. All right. And so my fingers, this is fingers staying on line. And this is what I want to do where I'm twisting the hands just a little bit as they come down. Okay. All right. Now, Kenny, I know you're practicing along. Anybody else? Does anybody have questions about some of these components? We basically went over 4 kind of core things for your overhead strike to kind of work on. Does anybody have questions? Does anybody want to see something again? I'm trying to make sure people have enough time to like put something down and then type. I want to do the Obi Ante. All right. Kenny, that's a really good question. So slow movement or full speed? Dad Nerd Dude will add the Obi Ante. That'll be one of the next lessons. I want to give you guys some striking before we do the transitional stuff. Oh, Amir, awesome. Okay, so different parts of it, I need to practice different speed. Okay, so as an example, if we come back to working on striking online, okay? If lefty is a little derpy, here, I'm gonna get you closer. There we go. Okay. So if lefty is still a little derpy, then I want to practice lefty's movement very slowly and intentionally so that it can stay online and travel to where it's supposed to travel. Okay? And so then that going through slow and smooth is going to help my body kind of create the path that my arms have to take for when I add speed. Okay? Once I've gotten to where I can do it smoothly, then I should be able to kind of let my muscles go so that when I strike, it's a little bit more, right? And that's not as fast as I can go, but most of the time when you're practicing with a weapon, because you're adding all this weight to your joints, you don't want to practice full speed unless you're making contact with something. All right, and so as I come over here, we're gonna whack the ghost bag. Right. And so this is about the speed we just did a second ago. Okay. And now, since I'm going to be making contact with something, I can go just a little bit faster. It's not going to be rough on my elbows, because your elbows are the brakes, kind of. And so if you're going too fast and the way that they have to stop, that can be sort of rough on you. So, right? Because I'm making impact, the object I'm making impact with is going to help me deal with all the kinetic energy I'm generating. Hello! I hope you are still doing well in sunny, exotic Canada. Everybody, Sunny is one of my students from the long ago days when the moon was different and things were otherwise, and they're an awesome human being. But so, when I do the strike, when I'm going full speed, because I have something to absorb some impact, I can go faster. If I don't have something to absorb some impact, I should not swing as fast as I can or as hard as I can, because it's just going to be, it's just rough on your cartilage, and especially once you're north of 30, your body builds that stuff back very, very, very slowly. And so, like, practicing with preservation in mind is a good idea. Right? And then oh, you're coming back to Louisville? That's exciting. You'll DM me so that I can hear the story. I hope that's good news and not bad news. All right, so I'm going to end class in a second. I'm not going to end the live. But so here's your homework, everybody. Okay? You have 10 strikes where you stop this far away from a target. Okay? And that is to help you work on, when you're working with a partner, stopping this far away from them so that they can practice their part of it. Okay? Then you've got 10 strikes where you lift, bring lefty to you, and make sure as you're doing these, when you lift, shoulders go down and back and in, not up. Okay? Down, back, and in. All right? And then we've got 10 where you use some type of a visual guide so that you can look as your cut travels through space and see something that's going to keep you honest about how straight line it is. All right, and so you can use the line of a corner. You could hang something from, hang something from a tree. You can use a even something that's really far away. As long as it's more or less straight up and down, it gives you a really good guideline for how much you're wiggling as you're delivering your cut. Okay. Then last thing, we got 10 more. Where as the hands come down, you twist in your hands just a little bit, so that you have more of the meat of your hand supporting the strike as the cut goes through. And so that's what we have. That's today. And we'll add the Obi ante, we'll add some more strikes and some other things as we progress. And so, Amir, that is really exciting, man. I really like the bruiser. I've still got a couple of them over here on the wall. But so we're gonna be doing lives Fridays at 10:30. And at the moment, this is all going to be AM just because this is where it sort of fits. But so Fridays, 10:30. I'm going to add Mondays after I get a little bit more into my groove. But it'll be about a half hour, and then we'll post to YouTubes that people can access it thereafter. I'm going to take us into the office. I'm going to kind of recover the room a little bit, and I'll be back on live in just a second. But so there it was. That was our first TikTok Live Saber class. And then anybody that wants to talk to me about scheduling like a more individual lesson, if you want to try to do a Zoom or whatever, COVID gave me a lot of opportunity to learn how to do that. And so I'll make those available to folks too. Thanks everybody for joining me. I'll be back on in just a second.